Hey guys, what's going on? It's Colin here again, back with another fan video at Rob's. This is a probably mid-70s Sears with the amazing green blades. The more squared off base and everything. Tag is back here, it's just a serial number. But yeah, it's a Sears Tri-Speed. But actually this video is not so much about this specific fan as a modification we're going to be doing to it. What we're going to go ahead and do in this video is we're going to show you guys how to add oil wick to these Lasko, Sears, Galaxy, Sanyo fans. This will work on anything from the early to mid 70s style like this to even the late 80s like this one. Because I don't know if any of you guys have worked on these before, but usually when you take them apart there's really nothing left to the oil wick. There's usually like a little glob about that big at the bottom, and sure, you can add some oil to that, but it just doesn't last the way it should. So what we're going to go ahead and do in this video is show you guys Rob's technique for adding a hell of a lot more oil wick to these fans and making them basically, you know, permanently lubricated. You'll lube it once and then you'll be good for like 10 years probably. So anyways, figured we'd go ahead and use this one as a demo here. Go ahead and fire it up on high. And this thing definitely needs it because it's taking off really slow.
Let's see what low does. This is, I don't even gotta say anything.
Yeah.
This says itself.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So yeah, definitely needs it. So we're gonna go ahead and do here is start by tearing this thing down. This one's pretty easy. You got the cage clips on the outside here.
I love these models. This one actually, just a little bit of a kind of a trivia. This one's unusual. Because typically this model had a white painted cage. This one has a chrome plated cage. Which
I think the chrome looks better.
Yes, I personally prefer the chrome. I actually had a white caged version of this, and I think I gave. Ooh, don't want to do that. I think I gave it away. I already broke a Sears blade once. I don't need to break another one.
Yeah, that would be bad. Be careful with these blades; they crack very easily.
What I like to do for storage,
just put it inside the cage.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I always do too.
This way, at least, it's somewhat protected.
Yup.
Don't do what I do. Use a screwdriver. But for the purposes of making a video,
We'll speed things up a bit. These things come apart really freaking quick too.
you want to take the whole thing apart to do this procedure.
Remember,
not that it's
reverse
involved,
thread.
but yes, this is reverse thread. It's pretty easy to do, but you do have to take the whole motor apart. There's two reverse threads on these fans. One is the oscillator knob, the other one is the oscillator mechanism itself. It might help if I unplug it.
Yep, don't shock yourself.
Yeah, I've already done that once today.
So just an interesting note, on these early ones there's actually a set screw that holds this in. On the later ones, like that Sears I showed before behind me, it's going to be just a plastic gear on the bottom, and it's almost like a self-tapped screw into that, which is also reverse thread, but there's no set screw you have to undo. But then, yep, we'll get the head wire out of the way.
You don't have to do this. I prefer to do it. I take the cap to the oscillator housing off. Not only to inspect it, but it just makes it easier for me to, when it comes time to put the motor back together, I can see what's going on. And I just broke it.
Oh.
It's alright, it's just a keeper. This is kind of why I stray away from plastic these days and gearing more towards antiques, because you break things sometimes. These are torqued on. So be careful, you got to put a lot of pressure on either, you know, I recommend a screwdriver, a lot of pressure on the screwdriver so you don't strip the screw.
They do like to strip. I've had it happen a fair amount of times. my go-to trick when they do strip is I'll take a hacksaw or a Dremel and I'll cut a slice through it, and then you can use a flathead.
Next thing you want to do is get this pin out of the shaft. Sometimes they come out easy, sometimes not so much.
They're actually like knurled in the middle so that they're kind of pressed in there and they don't slide out. So you usually have to tap them out. That one came out pretty nice.
Yeah. Sometimes you get lucky.
Yeah, we just did that other Sanyo there, and that thing, the pin fought us for like 20 minutes getting out.
That whole fan fought us.
But there you go. You can see how it's kind of knurled in the middle there.
The later ones have a little bit more to them. This is an early model, so you don't see too much of it.
Yep.
The later ones will probably fight you a little bit more. So now that I got all that out of the way,
actually you can see in the front how crapped up that bearing is. There's a lot of grease and stuff up in there. Pretty nasty. But yep, you just got to watch the head wires when you're popping the back off, and they should slide right out.
I don't recommend cutting the head wire to get the housing completely off. It's more work. It's not necessary. I'm going to pull the rotor out. This one needs it.
Oh yeah.
You see the polishing of the shaft. That's not a good sign. It shouldn't be that. And there's actually, if you feel,
There's a ridge.
there's a step. So this motor has seen a lot of wear.
No, it's been run for a long time without proper lubrication, so there you go. This is basically what I was talking about before. You'll see this one actually has a fair amount. I've never seen quite that much in one of these, but even so, it's like from here to here. And this is, what'd you say this material is called?
It's called Wick. It's the equivalent of sawdust impregnated with oil.
That's what they used back in the day, because it was meant to be a throwaway fan, but they've lasted 40 years, and the Wick has not, so.
It was meant to be, like we said, it's meant to be service-free. Not really having to worry about oiling, because, you know, before these fans came out, the manual state a couple drops of oil every 3 months. So these were kind of service-free. The problem is this stuff does not last. It's not meant to last as long as these things have lasted. As you can see, I'm scraping it out right now. This is a lot compared to, we did the Sanyo over there, and it had almost nothing in the back. Of course, the front was completely packed, which is unusual, but you can see this stuff will literally just
crumbles.
Fall apart in my hands. Junk.
So yeah, you want to go ahead and scrape it out with like a flat blade screwdriver or something. A little bit can stay in there, but try and get as much out as you possibly can.
If you have an air compressor, which I do, but this garage does not like the voltage drop in the cold weather, so that air compressor over there will not start. But if you have an air compressor, that would help you significantly to getting every last bit of it out.
Yep, and just make sure you don't actually push any of it into the bushing itself too.
Interesting to note, these earlier Sanyo motors, which all these fans are made by Sanyo, they're the OEM. So you're talking about Lasko, Galaxy, Sears,
Frigid,
Ambassador. Any other odd brand that looks like a Galaxy or a Lasko, it's made by Sanyo. They're all Sanyo motors, so they're the OEM. But anyways, stop rambling, get to my point. Interesting to note that the earlier ones actually have a bronze bushing, where the later ones, I think it might be steel. I think it's sintered steel.
I don't remember. We'll find out when we tear the other Sears apart, I guess. But yeah, we went ahead and scraped out as much of the Wick as we could. And what we go ahead and do here is, you want to grab the bag, the part number?
Yeah.
These are McMaster Car 0155 felt washers, I guess, or spacers.
This size is perfect for the 16-inch model. But for the 12-inch, which we learned with that one, you got to cut them in half. So I'm actually going to demonstrate that on video. If you guys cut them, whoever's watching the video, if you decide to cut these, be very, very careful. Because
yeah, here's one that we
we'll
cut
lose
in
a finger.
half earlier. We'll go ahead and show it again just because. But they're actually a little too thick and they interfere with the rotor on these 12-inch sizes.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get approximately half. And I'm just going to put it on the table. And I'm going to saw away at it. Occasionally rotating the wick with my fingertips. It's not too difficult, just, again,
Take your time.
yes, and be careful. Don't cut your fingertips off over a Sears. It's not worth it. If it were a Tesla, maybe, but no, I'm just joking. So, that's basically what you want to do. This one is actually a little bit thicker, so I might shave this down a little bit, but ideally you'll want them pretty thin for the 12-inch motors. So I'm actually going to do the back bearing first. This way you guys can see what's going on. You want to start off by just pressing the felt washer into the bearing cup, like that. Then, grab a flat blade screwdriver, be very careful, and just ease it around the bushing. You can see how easy that went in. It didn't even fight me. Just work your way around.
You want to get it so that it's flush or slightly behind that bushing, because sometimes the thrust washers will rub up against that bushing, and if you've got extra felt in the way, it's going to screw up the alignment with the rotor. Might actually make it too tight.
Yeah, which again,
We learned with the Sanyo.
over there that really gave us a lot of trouble. But seems to be running good now, so can't complain.
So that's your finished product there.
So I'm actually going to trim this one just a little bit. I'm just going to use the table as a guide. Just take a little bit off. This way, when I put it in the front, I've got no clearance issues.
The front bearing's really hard to see what he's doing, so I think I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here. We'll get that installed, and then I'll come back for some reassembly tips. Alright, we got the front oil wick back in, and Rob's going to go over a couple tips quick on some reassembly stuff.
Alright, so did the back, did the front, got brand new wicks in there. What I like to do is use my finger to try to get any fibers that may be covering the bushing itself, wipe it away. Do the same for the front, which I did already. Make sure the wick is thoroughly pressed in and that the bushing is free and clear, because the rotor does ride up against this. If you look here, you have that's the end of the rotor. It's got these plastic pieces, and then you got the fiber washers that provide the spacing. And that will actually ride right up against the bushing. So this one's clear. The front one's pretty clear as well. I'm going to go ahead and oil both the wicks. Be generous about it. I use royal purple just because I can. I got a lot of the stuff by the gallon. So I'm not going to be stingy about how much oil I add to this. Besides, then I never have to do it again. Which is kind of the purpose of this video. Never having to take one of these apart again. As easy as it is annoying having to pull apart a motor every time you want to service it. Or oil it, I should say, not even a full service. So when you put these back together, try to clean the shaft the best you can. I usually just use paper towel. Use my brother's gym shorts sometimes if I feel like it. Or my girlfriend's clothing. Her jacket does pretty well. She doesn't know about it. She's got a whole bunch of oil stains on there.
I won't tell her, don't worry.
You won't have to. When she finds out, she's going to be like, what is this? And I'll be out on the street and you guys will know about it. Okay. That's not too bad. I'm not going to complain about that. No.
You got a fiber washer in the back here.
Yeah. Just put that on the shaft this way it doesn't give me any issues. Like so. Oil the shafts when you put it back together. It'll really help, especially with aligning things. These motors kind of a little bit of a pain to really get back together and align properly. You gotta fiddle with it a little bit. I usually start with the 3 screws.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly.
Or we say, I guess.
Now, before we do the time lapse to put this thing back together, last step you want to do, preferably a rubber mallet, but check, see if the shaft is stiff. This one's kind of stiff, so I'm going to give it a couple taps. Lift the motor up, base off the table, tap up, tap down, left, right. That should free it up. This one's pretty free. And then what I like to do sometimes is I'll give it a tap backwards. Now before I put the whole thing back together, test run. It seems pretty good.
Also, the spin downs and stuff will get better with time. Even if it's a touch tight when you first put it together, sometimes it's alright. If you let it run for a little while, keep an eye on it. Usually as the oil seeps in, it will get better and better. So don't be super alarmed if it's not 100% right off the bat.
Yeah, that one's been running for about 30 minutes now.
When we put this Sanyo in the background there back together, it was pretty tight. And it's been running very happily for the last like 30 minutes now. The spin down's right where it should be. So
another thing to add is if you don't get the best spin down time, don't be alarmed. You still don't really have to take the thing apart again because it has oil. And it will have oil for quite a number of years.
spin down is not everything.
I did a Ambassador branded Lasko for my mom quite a number of years ago, and that fan has not seen service since I did it, and I don't even own it anymore. The person who has it now was quite happy with how it performs, and it hasn't ever needed anything since. So this really does work, especially if you don't like pulling these things apart every few weeks to service them. It's kind of annoying. At least I thought it was annoying.
Alright, I think we showed you guys how it came apart, so we're going to take a quick jump here. Let's get it all back together and we'll show you guys how it performs. Alright, so we went ahead and put the thing all back together here, let it run for a little while, and now you guys remember what it looked like when we started, so here's high. That's as it should be there. Took right off, got right up to speed. It was barely turning on low before. That's the nice slow low that these things should have. But yeah, for those of you guys who care about spin down, let me get back up to speed here. Just coasts and coasts and coasts and coasts. And we only ran this thing for like half an hour too, is the other crazy thing. I'm sure with even more runtime it would get even better. But yeah, you have any last points to add, Rob? Or
Other than recommending that you should do this to pretty much every Galaxy, Sanyo, Lasko, Sears that you got. No, it's pretty easy modification. It just takes some patience. And like I said, on the smaller ones, you got to cut the wicks in half, as we learned with the other Sanyo. But once they get going and once you run them for a little bit, they really improve. And every time I've done this, I have not had to take another one apart. So it definitely they hold up after this, and you can enjoy them as they're meant to be enjoyed.
well, there you go. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful and informative. And if you like what you see, if you could hit the little like and subscribe buttons, I'd appreciate that. By all means, leave a comment if you have one. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next one.